Hello. So I did the research on the merger that you had talked about last night with Angel Studios. And Annabelle, this is totally up to you. If you want to understand anything that's going on, you can watch this. If not, don't worry, just skip through this because it's going to be kind of boring. But if you do want to help make the decision whether we say yes or no to it, because you do own the most stocks out of all of us, you can pay attention. I'm gonna start from like the beginning. I'm gonna try and make it because Annabelle, I don't assume that you know very much about this, and Mom, you know some about it, but so this is, I wrote it all out, all of the information I found, but so basically right now, Angel Studios is a private company. So this means that anybody who's a shareholder right now, like all of the shares are owned by like the founders, employees, early investors, and then what we are is there's also people who bought it through private offerings. That's what we did. We bought it through a private offering. So you can't just go onto a stock exchange like the NASDAQ or something and buy Angel stocks. It's not publicly offered. This also means that there's restrictions on who can invest and how you can sell your shares. So like liquidity is usually limited in private companies, I'm sorry. You can't just sell your stock whenever you want. I didn't think that was really a big issue for us because I don't think we're planning on selling anytime soon because you guys were there to just support the company. But that's usually what it means for a private company. So now they're private right now, but they want to go public. And so if the merger goes through, that means that Angel Studios can be publicly traded as soon as the merger goes through. If it is approved and signed on and everything like that, we immediately go onto the public market. And so its stock will have its own ticker symbol. It will be listed in the U.S. Stock Exchange, and then anybody with a brokerage account can buy or sell Angel shares. So in theory, if the merger goes through, our current shares, the ones that we own, they'll either be converted into publicly traded ones, or they'll be exchanged for publicly traded ones. It really doesn't matter. I think they'll probably do it for us. You really don't have to, we don't personally have to worry about figuring that out. They'll do that. So the good thing about them going public for us as investors, this is not anything about like religious standpoint, just from an investing standpoint, is that they have to follow strict rules and regulations as a publicly traded company. They can, not anybody can just become a publicly traded company and do shady work. So basically they have to follow certain government practices. They have to disclose any risks that their company has. They have to be very transparent in their operations. And then they have to disclose all of their financials. They can't hide anything. This is required for every publicly traded company, not just Angel Studios. But it by doing this, it helps investors determine the financial health of a company and whether or not they want to invest in it or not. So they have to, everybody who's looking at publicly traded companies, they have to have access to their financials, all of the financials. And that company, they can't hide anything, because people have to know and to be able to make their decision, to make an informed decision on whether or not they want to invest in it. So in order for Angel to become a publicly traded company, they've decided to try and pursue this merger thing with a company called Southport Acquisition Corporation. And I did some research on them. They're an SPAC, which is a special purpose acquisition company. Basically, it's a shell company. It's a business that has no operations of its own. It doesn't generate its own revenue or operate a business. Instead, what it does is it looks for targets like Angel Studios to either merge with or acquire. In this case, they're looking to merge, not acquire. What they then do is that they take private firms public without going through a traditional IPO, which is an initial public offering. So in order, traditionally, for a private firm to go public, they have to get an IPO. which is an initial public offering. So the traditional way to do that takes months. It's a very, very long process, and they have to work with investment bankers. They have to figure out a price of what their initial offering. They have to file a lot of paperwork, and once they do all that, then they can share they can sell their shares directly to the public. But it's like a really long and expensive process. But the reason companies do it is because as soon as you go public, you have crazy access to immense capital that makes up for that. So yes, it's long and expensive, but your like opportunity in the future is really big. So that's why companies do it. That's the traditional way of doing it. Now, because Angel Studios is trying to pursue this merger, there's the SPAC route. And SPAC is a publicly traded shell company, so it's already listed on an exchange somewhere, but it doesn't have any of its own operations. It just holds cash. That's all it does. It just holds cash. So the SPAC, it raises money first, with the promise of finding a private company to merge with. It raises this money typically from investors who just trust the team that's running it. They're like, I trust you to find something good to merge with and make money in the future, so I will invest in you now. When it finds a target like Angel Studios, the SPAC and the private company, they merge. After the merger, the private company, the private company becomes public instantly. So it skips all of that traditional IPO and pricing process. Like, it doesn't have to go through any of that. Instead of Angel Studios going public through an IPO, it's piggybacking off of the SPAC's Southport. It's piggybacking off of Southport's already existing public listing. So we're getting the ballot right now because they're going to hold, I did some more research, they're going to hold a special meeting of shareholders at the beginning of September. And so anyone who's been a shareholder for more than, I think it was a month, so we count, definitely, we've been holding for quite a bit now. They want to see if they have the approval of all of the shareholders to proceed. So that's why they're asking us, like, are you okay with this? Are you not? If it's approved, then the merger will go through and close shortly after, and Angel Studios will be publicly traded. So this gives Angel better access to capital. So if they're continuing to grow as a company, they're going to need, they could do it, they could continue privately, but they're going to probably have better access to resources if they continue to pursue the public. Like, if they go public, they'll have better access to capital and stuff. They'll be able to even have better liquidity, like be able to like just generate like cash, like have cash that they can do stuff with, and then they'll also be more visible. That's a good thing from a business standpoint, because not everybody knows that Angel Studios exists, but as soon as they go public, a lot more people are going to know that they exist. They're going to want to do research. They're going to want to know, hey, is that a company I want to invest in? So it's a really big visibility thing. So a lot more people might come to know of Angel Studios if they go public. Our current shares, which I'm going to assume are either Class A or Class C. I don't know. I haven't really looked at what we bought, but they're just going to convert our shares to the combined company to the shares of the combined company. There are a couple other classes that, like Class B or Class F, they're going to convert to shares of a different class with just enhanced voting rights. So that's why I assumed we were just Class A or C. So I was trying to figure out like why Angel Studios was doing it this way instead of doing the traditional IPO. And so they, like, in the past year, it's kind of insane, they've had pretty rapid growth. So like membership wise, they reported going from, it was 222,000 members to 1.5 million members worldwide. So like that's pretty explosive growth. I don't know how long that was over, but like I'm assuming it was probably reported over a year, maybe a year and a half. and so that's a lot of growth. And then their revenue was pretty insane too. In 2024 they reported $15.3 million in revenue, and it went up to $87.4 million at the same point in this year, 2025. So in a year's time they went from 15 to 87. Kind of insane. They've also, like, it seemed like they were kind of preparing for this merger a little bit, because they also added some new executive hires. So like they got the CFO and the CLO, and they also expanded their board to include people like experienced public company veterans, like, so people that have worked with public companies before. They've like included them now into their board. So and then the other thing was that if the merger goes through, then the combined company like is valued at 1.6 billion. So that's a pretty good like start, like for the initial public offering to be valued at 1.6 million. Like, oh, it just started raining. Great, I have to go to work in 45 minutes. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, they'll be valued at 1.6 billion, which is a really good start to continue growing. Like they can do a lot with that value. There are some risks with the merger. I tried to figure out what kind of things could be on the bad side of this. And so what can happen is that the merger could possibly not close. That's always a thing that can happen. Or it could be delayed. And this is usually a problem with, like, if something's delayed, can be a problem with SPACs, because they usually have to operate within pretty strict deadlines. And if they can't close, like, a merger or acquire something within a certain amount of time, they lose their funding. And that's how it is working with Southport too. We as shareholders in Angel Studios, we will not lose our money if that happens. It just, it's like not great for Angel Studios. Like, it's not bad. We shouldn't be losing money, but like it's like a missed opportunity. Like, they could be spending their time going about it some other way. If this way doesn't go through, then they missed out on doing that opportunity cost kind of thing. So it's not like we won't lose our money, if that's what you're concerned about. But yeah, and then there's also like issues with when you are merging, there's like integration. So like you're combining two leadership teams. That can kind of be like, that can go smoothly or it can not go smoothly. And that's where I was kind of thinking you guys might be interested in, because like, I know we want to make sure that we're doing this Christianly too. I did some research on the CEO of Southport. Like, I did some research on Southport. So it was originally incorporated in 2021. So it's been around, but not like been around for a long time. The CEO is a guy named Jeb Spencer. I don't know if he's Christian. I just did a little bit of work. He is pretty experienced. He was co-founder and a managing partner of TVC Capital, which is TVC Capital. I think it's an equity firm. And then he also served on the board for Ellie Mae, which is a mortgage tech firm. The chairman of Southport was a guy named Jared Stone. He's also pretty experienced, co-founder and former managing director for Northgate Capital, which is a private equity firm. And there were some other experienced people on their board, so they did seem to have a pretty good leadership team. But like, if you guys are looking for a Christian leadership team, I couldn't tell. I just did quick research on them, but I really couldn't tell. I don't know if that's an issue for you. The managing team from Angel should be staying. They should continue, it's just merging the two together. So yeah, they started in 2021. Their original goal was to raise $200 million to pursue mergers and acquisitions in the future. They ended up raising $230 million, plus a private placement brought in an extra, what was it? $11.7 million. So they seem pretty good at raising funds. They ended up putting like, what is that? $240 some million into a trust fund, which is pretty good when their original goal is 200. That's pretty good. I did some research on their like Southport's objectives, which this is where it kind of got interesting. Southport's main objectives were stated to be pursuing mergers and acquisitions in financial software sector, with a special emphasis on, it was mortgage and real estate in the U.S., which is not what Angel Studios is. However, they tend to target, they were tending to target finding targets that had revenues between 50 and 100 million, and valuations between 1 and 2 billion, which Angel Studios landed right in that. So that matched, but they're not real estate or mortgage. I think what ended, I'll get in more. What happened is that they ran into the deadline issue, so they couldn't find companies in that sector to target. So that's when they found Angel Studios. Wow, it really is raining. So as of March this year, this is where, like, finding out about Southport. As of March this year, they've not completed a business combination. So because they didn't do it by March, which was their deadline, their trust account fund that they had, the funds dropped from that insane $240 million to it was $434,000. So and not all of that was cash balance either. I think about 300 and something was cash balance. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys can see this. Kinda, not really. It's raining pretty hard. This will be great. So their funds dropped because they expired. So basically the original investors, they just got their money back. They pulled their money back out. So it's not like anybody lost their money. It's just that Southport lost its funding. Like, they don't have access to that money anymore. So, however, through shareholder approval and agreements that limited share redemption, so that people can't keep just pulling their money out, they were able to extend the business combination deadline to September 30th of this year, which is a very narrow window, which also makes sense for why they wanted to do it with Angel Studios at the beginning of this month. Like, they're really pushing their deadline here. But because they lost all those funds, they're now operating with a working capital deficit of, it was a little more than 4 million, I believe. Let me see. I wrote it down, hang on. Yeah, 4 million. It was just a little over 4 million. And so working capital is your current assets, so like what you have, minus your current liabilities, what you owe. They have a deficit right now. So if your working capital is a positive number, the company has enough money right in it, like you would have enough money in your bank account to cover what you need to pay, like your rent, or that's what it is. If your working capital is negative, you don't have enough money to cover your expenses, which is what their issue is right now. They can they are in the negative right now. That's not necessarily like, end of the world though, because they won't be able to continue going the way they are without additional financing. So they either need to raise more money or they need to get a deal, like a merger with Angel Studios. So that's probably why they're from their standpoint, they're pushing so much for it. So they're not exactly the most financially healthy company at the moment, but if the merger goes through, it could be beneficial for both of them, for both Southport and Angel Studios. But because the deadline is like end of September, they're not giving themselves a lot of time. And like for us, like we're on the Angel Studio standpoint, we're protected from that. I'm just telling you like what we could be merging into. So like if this doesn't end up going through, it's just bad for Southport. It's, it just puts us as Angel Studios, like Angel Studios just goes back to square one. If this doesn't work out, they just go back to square one and they try again. To go public. They can find a different merger, they can do it the traditional IPO, it doesn't really matter. There was a rumor I did see about Southport that said that the New York Stock Exchange had started the process of delisting them, but I wasn't able to confirm that at all, so I don't know. That's what the company is. We can totally say yes or no. I personally, I would say yes to it, because if it does go through, that's really good for Angel Studios. If it doesn't go through, it's just bad for Southport. It just, we attempted to move in the race as Angel Studios, but we didn't get anywhere, so we just start over again. Not a big issue. We shouldn't lose any of our money, but that's the research on the merger. That's what I think. You guys can tell me. The Christian managing staff leadership from Angel Studios should stay in place. They're just going to be combining with possibly non-Christian leadership from Southport. And yeah, that's about it. So there you go. I think that hang on. The September 5th, that's when we're supposed to vote on whether or not we want the merger or not, when we'll know or something. So oh my gosh, okay, it's flooding on the sidewalk is flooded. Anyway, alright, I have to go to work now, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. I really don't care. I'm voting yes, but I'm okay with no as well. It really doesn't matter. So, well, it doesn't matter to me personally. It should matter to investors, but it doesn't matter to me personally. Anyway, hope you guys are having fun, and Annabelle, enjoy your first day of classes. Have fun. Bye.